In this session, Dr. Murray will provide some actionable tools to help leader managers implement the 4 strategies. Remember those 4 strategies he discussed in previous sessions. Intentional collaboration, the 4 R's of your leadership ecosystem, team agenda, and the 4th strategy was creating a compelling team brand. Now Dr. Murray will give you some actionable tools for each of these strategies. Now here is Dr. Murray again.
So there are 3 tools I will share with you that will help you to improve intentional collaboration on your team. Tool number 1 is MicroTeams. Second tool is team member peer review. And the third tool is validating communications that validate. Okay, let's start with MicroTeams. So whenever possible, always make 2 or more team members equally accountable for a particular outcome. So for example, let's say you assign a project to John. So you say to John, look, I'm going to assign Sally as your micro team partner. And you get them both together and you say to Sally, this is John's project, but what I want you to do is to be his sounding board. Ask him the hard questions. Help him check for his blind spots. You're not going to do any of his work for him. Just ask him the hard questions to help him check his blind spots. That's it. John, I need you to document the questions that Sally raised and how you addressed them in your project. So when you bring the final report back to me, I need to be able to see that you in fact collaborated with Sally in the final outcome of this project, right? That's a micro team. Simple. It fosters team collaboration, but more than that, it's also a powerful way and practical to stimulate innovation, because every project now has the benefit of multiple perspectives. Now, there's an old proverb that says, "In the multitude of counsel, there is wisdom," right? And that's essentially what intentional collaboration is: the multitude of counsel on every project. So the second tool that you can use to improve intentional collaboration is staff performance reviews. Now, this is not the type of performance review that impacts the staff's salary or promotion, right? This is a peer review where one staff member does a performance review on another staff member. It's done on a rotating basis, maybe monthly or quarterly, depending on the size of your team, how many people work in your department. One staff member will review the performance of another staff member. Now, to control the situation you will provide the questions for the review. As the leader manager, you provide those performance review questions. 3 to 5 questions is good enough, because this is not going to be an exhaustive review. So you provide 3 to 5 questions, and you ask the reviewer, the staff reviewer, to add another 2 questions to your pool of 3 to 5 questions. So when the review is done, it's being done on the questions that you provided and the 2 questions that the other staff person provided. Now, the way you pair people up is you basically do like a lottery drawing. You have names in a hat, and you have a staff person pull a name, and whatever name he or she pulls, then he's going to do the review on that name. So if I pull John's name, then I do John's review. If John pulls Jane's name, then John does the review on Jane. Okay? After they complete the review, they meet together, John and Jane meet together, and review the review, all right? Discuss the results. This is where the intentional collaboration begins to really happen, right? So John says, Jane, in my review, I scored you a 5 on quality of work. Then Jane has to say, well, why did you do that? What's the basis? And they have a dialogue. Now, this is not going to be confrontational. One of the things you have to be sure of is that your people understand how to give and receive constructive criticism. You also let them know is that this is not an official, nor is it a binding review. It's just a peer review. It's not going to affect their salaries. It's not going to affect their promotions. It's not going to affect anything whatsoever. It's just a tool to foster intentional collaboration. So folks are going to have to be able to know how to give and receive constructive criticism. In fact, we have a class that we do a group training on how to give and receive constructive criticism. And there may be something that, if you think there's a need for that in your department, maybe we could do that as a precursor to you doing this peer review tool. So that's the second tool to foster intentional collaboration. The third is what I call validating communications. So one of the almost guaranteed ways of getting people to collaborate and contribute to the team process is to validate them so that when they share their communications, they do so in a space that is safe, where they feel that their opinions matter, that they feel safe to contribute new ideas, suggestions, and questions. That is so important because you have to create that space, that culture, and I call it a validating communication culture, for lack of a better word, where people feel safe to contribute, to communicate, i.e. to collaborate intentionally. So those are the three tools for fostering and promoting intentional collaboration. By fostering intentional collaboration, you are in fact ensuring your job security, because intentional collaboration pushes your team's performance to higher, more consistent, more excellent levels. All right? So the third strategy to strengthen job security by getting your team to consistently perform excellently is creating a compelling agenda, a compelling team agenda. So if you remember from session 2, we discussed that agenda means purpose, and that an effective agenda is an agenda that aligns action. It keeps your team on the same page, right? You remember that discussion. So here are 3 tools that you can use as a leader manager to create an effective team agenda, one which aligns actions. An agenda that aligns actions is effective, it's compelling. So the first tool is to use the agenda question. The agenda question. And you basically poll your team members with the agenda question. And the agenda question is simple. Why does our department do what we do? Why does our department do what we do? You want to be able to determine whether or not your team members know your team agenda. And that question will uncover whether or not they know the purpose or the agenda for the department. Why does our department do what we do? So if you are the HR department and part of your job is managing the employee benefit program, and you go to Jane and you say, Jane, why do we do what we do? Again, that allows them to say, okay, well, I know we manage the employee benefit program. Why do we do that? It really makes them think. And it's okay if they don't know the answer, because that's your role as the leader manager to make sure that that agenda, that why, is clearly articulated. So next time you ask this question, they can readily give you an answer. So this tool is called the agenda question tool. And the agenda question tool and the real power of the agenda question tool lies in the fundamental difference between function and purpose. Function versus purpose. So in the example of the HR department, the function will be to manage employee benefit payroll, manage employee hiring process. That's function. That's what they do. Purpose is, why do you do that? Right? And so the agenda question is trying to get at that distinction and to make sure that your employees know that distinction between function and purpose. As a leader, when you clearly articulate this difference between function and purpose to your team, you can expect to see measurable improvement in consistent, excellent performance. But you must be sure to clearly articulate that, listen, agenda means purpose and it's bigger than function. You have to educate your team to understand that agenda is the why and the function is the what. Simon Sinek, one of the leading experts on leadership and management, wrote a bestseller entitled Start with Why. The subtitle, however, says How Great Leaders Inspire Everyone to Take Action. What he's saying in that subtitle is that great leaders get people to take action by clearly articulating the why. So taking action, driving performance by clearly articulating the why. Now that's basically, he's expressing the same sentiment, same paradigm that I'm teaching in this course when I say leader managers with the greatest job security achieve that level of job security because they use the team agenda to align team action. Same concept, just I'm using it a little bit more finessed, more nuanced than what Sinek is doing, but the concept is the same, that great leaders have the highest level of job security, right? I mean, we would agree. So great leaders with the greatest job security achieve that job security because they use the team agenda to align team action. This is an absolute powerful strategy to drive consistently excellent team performance. So that's the main tool that you're going to use to help create a compelling team agenda. Another tool is what I call the 4A tools. It's simple. The acronym means Agenda, Action, Alignment, Audit. Now, I'm an auditor by profession, 30 plus years, and so I'm comfortable using the word audit. Now, the word audit makes a lot of people feel uncomfortable, but this is a real simple audit. All it basically means is randomly asking team members how what they are working on aligns with the team agenda. So you go to John and you say to John, or you ask John, hey, you're working on project XYZ. How does that project align with the team agenda? Can you tell me? That's the audit, right? So it's very non-intimidating. It's simply asking the 4A question. Two key things happen here. One, it allows you to determine whether or not John knows what the team agenda is, if he's even aware of it. If John says something like the team what, then you know that you have some work to do as the leader manager to clearly articulate to John what the team agenda is. Now, if John knows what the team agenda is, but he can't really tell you whether or not his project aligns with the team agenda, then again, you have some education to do so that you can help him redirect his project, redirect his resources, his time, and his energy into a project or into an action that is more aligned with the team agenda. The agenda action alignment audit helps you get to the bottom of whether or not this employee knows the agenda, and if they do know the agenda, are their actions aligned with that agenda? If not, how do we need to redirect them so that their actions do in fact align with the team agenda? Very important. The third tool that you could use is pretty simple. It's when you, as a leader manager, evaluate an employee, right? As you lead and manage your team members, evaluating them, reviewing their performance. As a leader manager, you must make sure that the agenda action alignment model is part of your review process. How well does this team member know the agenda? How well does this team member align their actions with the team agenda, right? That's the third thing that you want to do to build, foster, and sustain a good team agenda. So those are the three things. So the fourth tool that leader managers must be good at is creating a compelling team brand. A compelling team brand. Remember from section 2, we define team brand as a behavior or a standard of performance that identifies your team. We use examples such as a gritty team, a resilient team, whatever it is that is the behavior or standard of performance that identifies your team, that becomes your team brand. And so creating a team brand is one of those key tools that you can use to drive performance, to compel excellent, consistent performance. That's why I call it a compelling team brand, right? And of course, when you are able to compel that type of behavior, excellent, consistent performance results in, you know what I'm going to say, stronger job security, of course. You see, your team brand is your team reputation. It's what you're known for. And so a compelling brand, a compelling team brand is by far one of the most powerful tools to drive or compel consistent, excellent performance. A compelling brand is one that makes team members want to live up to the standard of the brand. You've heard corporations, people that work with, say Google, for example, that has a very strong team brand. You've heard the phrase, the Google way. This is how we do it at Google. In professional sports, there's some teams that, like the New England Patriots, they have a winning culture. It's their brand. It's the Patriot way, right? And team members want to live up to that because it's something special. It represents something winning. And so your brand must be that compelling so that team members want to live up to that high standard.
Let's look at some practical, easy to implement tools that can help you to create a compelling brand for your team or department. Here is Dr. Murray again.
One of the most powerful practical tools that I've created to help leader managers get an assessment, a good evaluation of their team brand is what I call the Team Brand Survey tool. This tool is a set of 3 questions that you would give to other team leader managers in your organization. You give it to staff or team members from other departments. And of course, you want to give it, most importantly, you want to give it to the staff and team members in your department. So here's how the Team Brand Survey works. The questions in the Team Brand Survey are designed to allow you as the leader manager to get a sense of what people think about your department. For this example, let's use the HR department. You are the leader manager for the HR department. Now remember, we said that your brand is your reputation. It's what people think about your department, what people think about the HR department. So the main objective of this tool is so you can identify what your team brand is. A key thing to know is that whether you build a team brand or not, every team has a brand. It's one of those things that just develops, it seems, on its own. And it is your job to determine what it is. What do people think about the HR department? What's your reputation? You have to determine what that is using this tool so that you can better manage your team brand. And that's exactly what this tool does. So here's how it works. The survey questions are open-ended questions where the person taking the survey will need to complete a sentence with their opinion. It's an opinion survey. They must use 1 to 3 word responses only. They can't give you a dissertation in response. You'll never get done assessing and analyzing the data. Their responses must be 1 to 3 words only. And of course, the survey will explain to the survey taker that the responses should be qualitative rather than quantitative. Qualitative rather than quantitative. So let me illustrate the difference between qualitative and quantitative responses. Let's start with the first question on the Team Brand Survey. The first question is, the HR department is. Now the survey taker must respond, fill in the blanks, with a response that's no more than 3 words and it must be qualitative. So, for example, a response that says the HR department is resourceful or hardworking, those are qualitative responses. They describe a quality of the HR department. A response like the HR department handles the payroll, that's more of a quantitative or a functional response. So, what you're looking for is a qualitative response. Now, these examples are going to be part of the survey. So, the person taking the survey has an example of the difference between qualitative and quantitative. So, when they give their responses, they are given qualitative responses. Now, the second question on the survey is what I really like about the team and staff in the HR department is that they are, and again, you fill in the blank. You have the survey taker fill in the blank. What I really like about the team or staff in the HR department is that they are. The third question is what I don't like about the team or staff in the HR department is that they are, and again, you fill in the blank. Now, notice that question 2 and 3 are about the team members in the department, while question number 1 was about the team or the entire department. Strangely enough, this is because people generally have two separate perceptions and opinions on the team as a whole versus the people on the team, right? And so what questions 2 and 3 are designed to do is to kind of elicit or pull out those separate perceptions people may have, team versus individuals on the team. Now, to make this an efficient process, I recommend using an online survey, make it anonymous. Use something like SurveyMonkey, for example. This makes it easier to accumulate and analyze the responses. And or you can outsource this process to our firm. We can administer and analyze the data and give you back a team branch survey analysis report. Of course, our fees will depend on the size of your department, how many people are taking the survey. So you want to give us a call so we can give you a ballpark estimate of what it would cost for your particular department or your organization. This is also a good tool to do organizational wide, right? If there are any CEOs out there who want to use this tool to get their organization brand analysis done, of course, you could contact us for that as well. Now, analyzing the responses is the key to this brand survey. What you're looking for is to see what theme or themes emerge from the responses. So what's a theme, right? So a theme would be any response that shows up at a 25% or more rate. For example, if you have 100 responses to question number 1, and remember question number 1 is the HR department is, and you have 100 responses to that question, and 25 or more of those responses say that the HR department is slow, then that's a theme. That's 25% or more. Now, all the responses may not use the word slow, but they may use some synonym of the word slow. They may say something like untimely or tardy or takes a long time to get everything done. That'll be more than 3 words, right? But you get the idea. So any response that could fit together, you count them together. If it's 25% or more of your total responses, then you have a theme. Now, you're going to get some good themes. You might get some bad themes. If your results are overwhelmingly negative or bad themes, then of course you know your brand, your team brand, needs some repairing, right? You need to get that fixed. If you have overwhelmingly positive themes that emerge, then you still have some work to do. Now you've got to protect the brand, right? You've got to make sure that you can maintain and even improve on that positive brand. So either way, this analysis, this survey gives you the information that you can use as a leader manager to either repair your brand or to build upon your existing good brand. Make sense? So the second team branding tool, which we call the brand legacy tool, is a tool that is specifically designed to help you start either repairing your negative brand or helping you build upon your existing good brand. So this is the brand legacy tool, the brand legacy tool. It's a one question survey that you send out to the same groups of people. You send it out to leader managers in other departments, staff members in other departments, selected staff members in other departments, and you send it out to all the staff members in your department. Same three groups. And the simple question in the brand legacy tool is, what would you want our department to be known for? So in the example of the HR department, you say, what would you want the HR department team to be known for? Right? That's the brand legacy tool. There are two other tools that I would strongly recommend to help build a strong, compelling brand. Two other strategies or tools. One is to protect your brand. I strongly recommend that you let your team police itself so that they exert a certain level of peer pressure against any team member that violates the brand. You know, it's where you hear staff people or team members say, look, man, they say to another staff person who has violated the brand, they would say, you know, we don't do that stuff around here. Or in this department, we don't behave like that, all right? And then the other tool is to have written policies that you want to have written brand protection policies. I mean, it's good, it's all well and good to say, well, we don't do that around here, but if there's nothing documented in the policy that prohibits and punishes behavior that violates the brand, then people will just push the envelope as far as they can to get away with whatever they can, and with no repercussions. So within your department, you want to have written policies that prohibits and punishes behavior that violates the brand. Okay, so there you have it. The 4 tools to build a compelling team brand that will in turn strengthen your job security. And the reason it will strengthen your job security, of course, is because a compelling team brand drives or compels your team to perform excellently, consistently, or consistently, excellently, whichever way works for you. All right?
So those were some practical actionable tools you can use to strengthen your job security by using the 4 strategies to drive consistent, excellent team performance. Now, join Dr. Murray in the next session for some case studies of how these strategies and tools worked for other leader managers.